I haven't got time to mark this motherfucker. Here we go again. We can't hear anybody. Nobody can talk to anybody.
You guessed it, Pressure Points with your two favorite hosts. I'm D, and this is my Python Biceps AJ. We're coming at you with Season 5, Episode 24, Yugoslavia's terrible, horrible, no good, very bad breakup. I'm going to be talking about the Balkan Wars today, so strap in, get ready, and find us on Instagram and Twitter at PointsOPressure.
Well, turn the fucking thing off, you dumbass.
I love it that when you do the intro for one of your episodes, they know what they're getting into. It's outlined. Like, right now, you know what you're getting into, and if you don't want to hear about it, you can click away, but you're not gonna, because you love us. Yeah. But when it's my episode, you just say, like, the title, and then say, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, because I don't, and because if I were to ask you any questions, you would go, I'm not telling you.
I could give you
You could, but I know you
yeah,
wouldn't.
like the last two episodes, I could have just told you it was about the big sad in Ukraine.
You got to start giving me the
I'll
cliff notes.
I'll give you a super basic and slightly off-topic way to explain it from here on out. Then.
Okay, works for me.
Yeah, we'll forget this by next week.
That sounds great. Just bitch about it on my next episode.
Okay.
So, how was your week?
It's already been a week.
Yeah.
It went by fast. So we're getting close to finals. I got finals in like 3 weeks.
Ooh.
I've got 3 clinicals in a week starting on the 1st.
Ay.
Like the 1st, the 5th, I think, and the 8th or something like that. It was fucked up.
Ouchie wawa.
There's a lot of paperwork.
Hey, look at it this way. It is going to be a lot easier to just record midweek if we need to.
Yeah.
Because
now that you're here,
like finished kind of like the basement or my living area is. We did so much fucking flooring this weekend.
Oh yeah, my ass is sore.
My knees are sore for the first time in a while. Like
That's not
2
true.
weeks.
You got a promotion here just a couple weeks
like
ago.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
It's the last time they hurt this bad. But yeah, it's good. My girlfriend lives here now. If you hear a little woof woof in the background, the Pressure Points mascot.
If I hear woof woof, I'm going to yell quiet on set.
Yeah, so...
Shut that bitch up!
Whole family's here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're here.
We've done it.
You're queer.
We're ready to drink some beer.
Perfect.
Yeah, so...
I immediately said a word that starts with P. God damn it.
No, you're good. It's been a good week, man.
Yeah?
Yeah. Well,
What'd
Monday
you do?
and Tuesday were fucking awful. Work was just shit.
Yeah.
Those 2 days. But after that, it was great. I didn't have to deal with this one fucking trainer dude who was just like, if this takes you longer than 10 minutes, you need to ask for help. And I was like, fuck you, I'll figure it out.
Jeez.
He's gone. He went on vacation. Hopefully his plane crashes, and I never have to hear from him again.
Hopefully he pulls a Bobby Kennedy.
Yeah. DB Cooper. That's what I've got my fingers crossed on.
Hope so.
But yeah, past that, just getting everything set up. This next week is going to be a big one. So
yeah, I got a new desk coming, so I'm going to be rearranging the whole fucking upstairs office where I work.
Ooh. Are you getting one of those stand desks, the adjustable sit-stand desks?
I'm too fat for that.
Why, because you don't have a Costco membership?
Yeah.
Because they have them for like $175.
When are we going to go get our Costco membership?
We need to get one soon.
Yeah.
I need to
They do delivery now.
I need to change the address on my fucking ID.
Yeah, you can do that just online.
I know. I'm just lazy. I'm forgetful.
Online is the easiest.
I'm busy.
So busy.
I'm busy right now.
8 hours a day.
When I type, I have to speak out loud so everyone would find out your address.
Oh yeah, and you use one finger at a time.
No, but it's just the pinkies.
The pinkies, yeah. One pinky.
And I do it
just
like
one.
this, backwards, so that it's
crossed.
like the index finger, but it's pinkies.
Yeah, with the ankle, with the wrist, the arm ankles crossed.
Yeah,
the wrists
with handcuffs.
Yeah.
On. It's the only way I know how to type on a typewriter.
It has to be on a typewriter.
I have uncomfortably strong pinkies because
they're
of this.
really strong.
Yeah. My pinky's biceps are bigger than AJ's biceps.
Yeah.
Oh,
Fantastic.
man.
Yeah, it's been busy, but it's been nice.
Yeah.
I swear something else happened, but I guess not.
AJ's thinking about buying my brother's truck?
I probably won't.
Probably won't. He'll find
Sorry.
out. He'll find out on this episode. He talked to me about it yesterday.
Sorry,
like, maybe,
I need
I
something
don't
more
know.
reliable because I routinely drive out into the desert, and I need something that can.
No, you don't. No,
Yes,
no, you
yes.
don't need anything reliable. You'd be fine.
You don't have the password to the Patreon. You won't get a cent when I'm gone.
Bitch, I fucking pull all of the money out of the Patreon and put it
I have
in.
a dead man trigger that if I don't type in a password for 3 consecutive days, it changes the password to an
changes
unguessable.
everything.
Yeah, every password for everything.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, the podcast would cease to exist if you died, so it wouldn't.
Yeah.
It's not like any money would really be coming in anyway.
But like, if you're lucky, 1 or 2 people would put paid with their mom's credit card, and they just forgot about it.
You know what? You're gonna get mad at me for saying this, but I'm bummed that dead guy isn't still a Patreon subscriber.
I know. Rest in rip.
We're just slowly clearing his bank account. No, his
a
stuff
month
got
later.
shut down, like not even a month.
They charged for the next month.
One for
Yeah, we got one after
we
my
got
friend
one
died.
alimony payment.
Yeah.
Oh god. Yeah.
I was like, I wonder what'll happen. Like, do they even know? Do they even know that he has this charge? But it's okay.
Here we are. It worked.
Yeah, they took it. We got 1 extra month after he died, and then
It's the shittiest thing.
it really
too.
is.
It's like thanks.
Thanks a lot.
His last
Action.
last action was
Terrible.
that. Good lord. So, speaking
Sorry.
of dead people, I've got a non-World War II
Non-World War II.
1990s episode today.
Damn.
Yeah. It's weird to think that the 90s is now historical, but
Fuck, don't.
we're dipping our
No.
toes into history in the 90s, baby.
History in the decade I was
Yeah.
born in,
Yeah.
and the decade after you were born in.
No, I was born in the 90s.
Like 90.
You don't know. I'm not going to dox myself.
Hold on.
Nah. Okay. So,
Hold on, I got this. How old am I?
I don't know. I don't really care.
Oh, yeah, you're like
I'm like
early 90s.
45.
Yeah, so like 80. You were born in 1880.
No, 1996. No, I'm just kidding.
No, you weren't.
No, God, no. But yeah, the 90s. Take a trip back. We're going back to colorful T-shirts.
Pogs.
We're going back to when Kurt Cobain was still alive and he didn't own a shotgun. Like, it's...
Rugrats.
This is early 1991, baby. This is some good old shit.
Nigel Thornberry.
Tony Hawk is at the top of his
Oh,
game.
yeah.
He's on the front of every
Rage
fucking
Against the
magazine.
Machine hasn't broken up yet.
Yeah, like System of a Down is coming together. They're like fucking popping out, shitting
Is that
out
the
good
90s?
songs. Yeah, baby.
I only heard them in like
Early.
the 2000s.
I don't know.
I don't know. 9/11 hasn't
90s,
happened
yeah.
yet. We still had more freedoms because, we had Roe v. Wade and the Patriot Act didn't exist yet.
And there's actually something in this that I'll talk about that it's different because of 9/11 now, how things are handled.
Ooh, foreshadowing.
Yeah, like this is very it's kind of a turn of the century episode with how things are handled.
People are terrified
like-
of Y2K.
Yeah, it's late 90s and things are going to get a little fucking crazy. So,
The beginning of the downfall of America.
yeah, not of America.
Well,
it's the beginning of
yes.
the downfall of Yugoslavia.
And America.
That's fair. So, Yugoslavia, if you don't know what it is,
It's a
the
type
area,
of fruit.
Yeah, no. The area that Yugoslavia is now Bosnia and Herzegovina, Croatia,
Very good, very
Macedonia, Montenegro, Serbia, and Slovenia. All 6 of these places. I know Bosnia and Herzegovina are one place. I know it sounds weird, but it's one place.
Don't question us.
All 6 of these places in like post World War II were known as Yugoslavia from World War II until 1991. Now Yugoslavia was kind of split up prior to World War II and World War I, but it started to come together a little bit more after because Germany occupied the Yugoslavia area. And so they became a socialist state after
Hell yeah.
World War II. Yeah, fantastic. And things went really, really well. It was a really diverse place. And I'll get into all of that a little bit later. But a guy by the name of President Tito, his first name was President. No, I'm just kidding. So he had come into leadership, and he kept things really calm for how fucking angry the Serbians always were, and how like timid and easy to push around the Croatians were. It,
as evidenced by Gavrilo Princip in World War I.
And with how much everybody hated Muslims, it is surprising how well Yugoslavia was run. Like, it really shouldn't have lasted as long as it did. And it went well.
I just, especially considering how much people hated Muslims in Yugoslavia. You got to clarify that.
Yeah.
We don't hate Muslims.
Sorry.
I'm just kidding.
I thought I was trying to.
I'm gonna
like,
loop. It's you saying you hate Muslims,
No,
and I'm gonna put that out on.
Honestly,
the internet.
and all of this episode is just like how badly they get fucked over. But the Serbians and the Muslims did not like one another. There was a lot of like behind the scenes hate that was going on. That was really unfortunate and kind of came to a head later on. But in 1980, President Tito died. So
no,
for about 11 years, everyone's like, fuck my neighbor and fuck his neighbor. We want independence. And so everyone, all of these little areas at the time were kind of just starting to split off. They were starting to just draw little borders and say, oh, well, we're a group of Serbians and we live in Bosnia, so we're Bosnia, Serbia. And they were
Perfect.
like, okay. And then there were areas occupied by Muslims and they were in Bosnia. And so they're like, oh, well, we're the Bosniaks. And it was like, what the fuck? Like, it's just a total mess. And there is a lot that I will very likely get wrong. And there is a lot that I will probably miss because of just how much of a clusterfuck this entire thing is.
It's a super complex topic, which is why I've stayed very far away from it.
It's really wild. I'm planning on talking about it in the future. There are a lot of different little things that have little big things that happened throughout the Balkan War, which is what this is also it's a blanket term for this as well, is the Yugoslavian War, the Balkan War, the Yugoslavian genocide. Like there are a lot of really big terms that come with this, and it's like you said, it's a really fucking intimidating topic because if you fuck up explaining a war, you've taken a side, and it sucks.
Yeah. And,
so
there's some wars I'm okay with taking a side. But
this
it's
one,
not one that I cannot understand, though.
This one isn't one that
God.
I'm hesitant on taking a side. It's just there are so many small things that happen in between that it's like, what the fuck? Like, sometimes Croatia does something really shitty. Sometimes Serbia does something really shitty. It's war. It's hell.
It's going to be
fucked.
shitty no matter what.
So bear with me on all of this. If I miss something, trust me, I will be getting back to this because now that I have an understanding of it, it opens the door to 2 or 3 episodes that I wanted to do previously, but I held back because I was like, I don't want to do an episode explaining a war to people that nobody gives a shit about, that they should give a shit about,
Yeah, 100%.
Because it's kind of it's not as hard to go over as the Palestinian Jew situation, and it's not as you take this side or this side. It's very obvious which side you go for. But yeah, just bear. I'll just get into it. So, sorry. So Tito dies in 1980. And all of these, yeah, right.
Rest in peace.
God bless our Tito. All of these nationalist groups start to emerge. And it's like I said, you've got just little small, like 2-mile blocks of people that are just like, oh yeah, we're the Bosniaks, we're this. And it's causing further and further dissent, because when you start to break down an area into even smaller subgroups, you run into little rivalries within these subgroups, and this subgroup hates this one, even though they both used to get along great. It's just the people that used to live in this one are now able to show their dissent against Muslims, like the Bosnian Serbians are now saying, well, you know, like, we side with Serbia and fuck the Bosniaks. And it's a clusterfuck after everything has gone so well for like 40, 50 years.
So it's kind of like if every state in the United States was its own country.
Kind of.
You have Oklahomans going after fucking Nevadans for sure. Everybody would hate California.
Yes and no.
Texas would just burn.
Yeah, God, right? Imagine if you took
every state is a nationalist group for a different religion.
Imagine if you took the United States. God, really? If you took the U.S., you broke it into 6 different parts. Like we go, oh, the Northeast, the South, the fucking North Midwest, Texas, the Western Midwest, and California, and like the Pacific. Imagine you break it into that. And just think about the problems that would arise when New Mexico and Arizona identify with California, and now they share a border with Texas. It's kind of the same thing where within, like, let's say Texas, you have what was a Muslim community that was under the complete cover of the United States is now a Muslim community in the country that is now Texas. It is a very, very unsafe place for these Muslim families to reside because of how fucking angry Serbians immediately got.
Yeah, they no longer have the protection of everybody else in the group.
Like they don't have these protections from President Tito and from the government. It's now, oh, well,
good luck.
Now you're under kind of an independent rule of Serbia. So, sorry. And I know I'm getting ahead of myself. I apologize.
Sorry for interjecting.
No, you're okay. It's a good way to kind of help, like, explain and break it down for everybody if you put it in relatable terms. And if you're not from the U.S. and you're like, what the fuck is a Texas? It's okay. It's probably better that you don't know.
It's 100%.
I wish I didn't know what a Texas was.
100%.
So, in 1991, let's see, Croatia and Slovenia were working on declaring independence. And in 1991, the Serbians just came out and said, hey, we're our own fucking place. We are Serbia. And it took up like a third of Yugoslavia from what I was seeing on maps. I could be totally wrong, but from what I saw...
Now, double down. You're 100% right.
I'm 100% right. I might backtrack on a lot of these in the future, and I will apologize for like shit that I totally fucked up in this episode when I do future ones. But Serbia takes up like a third of Yugoslavia, which is... It's big,
That's a big
for how densely populated the areas are. And so Serbia has this huge spot, and Croatia's like, you know what? I think we might go independent. And Slovenia says, I think we might go independent. And Bosnia is like, fuck. Like, we aren't ready for this at all. Sorry.
Now we need to.
Yeah, they're like, we aren't prepared for this. We haven't really thought about it because there are so many subgroups in there. How the fuck are you going to get everybody together to say, hey, you know what? We want Bosnia to be independent when half of your people want to be a part of Serbia, half want to be Croatian, half want their own shit, half are Muslim and just want out. And it's like, it's a total clusterfuck for Bosnia. And so Serbia says, you know what? I think all of Yugoslavia should be Serbia. And Croatia says, whoa, we're working on our own independence. We aren't, like, you aren't over us. When Yugoslavia fell, we kind of were able, you guys declared your independence, and we didn't say shit. We declared independence, and you guys suddenly think that this is fucking World War III. And so Serbia starts occupying Croatia, and they start killing thousands of people. Because what's the easiest way to move a border? I don't know. Ask fucking Russia. Is blowing up buildings and killing innocent people, and it is fucking terrible that, like, that's someone's approach when a country falls apart. That it's like, hey, why don't we just fucking murder our neighbors?
Well, yeah, if everyone's dead, then nobody's going to question where the border is.
Exactly. Like, the border, the imaginary fucking line drawn in the sand. So, it gets so bad over all of 1991. It goes on for a year, and the UN steps in, and they declare, hey, like, there needs to be a ceasefire because things are getting fucking out of hand. And the UN, throughout all of this, just fucking blows it.
Of course they do.
And it's like, they're like, oh, keep the peace. And they're like, and the Serbians and Croatians go, shut the fuck up, mind your business. It's not good. So, back to Bosnia, they initially are just like, yeah, we're going to do our own thing. But these subgroups, these sub-Serbian groups that are in Bosnia start to say, you know what? We side with the Serbians. And the Muslims go, no, Bosnia doesn't, we don't support the Serbians. And because Bosnia is kind of, like, Bosnia's pretty monumental. Like, imagine Bosnia's at the top, Croatia's in the middle and kind of like moves up, and then Serbia just covers like the bottom side. So Bosnia, if you get Bosnia and you're Serbia, Croatia's fucked. They're like, they're completely surrounded. So, when the Bosnians or the Bosnian Serbians announced that they side with Serbia, Croatia is put in a really, really rough spot because they're kind of on their own, and now they're starting to get surrounded. But the Muslims come out and say, well, if you guys don't fucking want us here, Croatia's on our side because we support them. And it's a total fucking clusterfuck. And Bosnia in 1992 ends up coming out and saying, you know what? We actually identify as independent because we're so split. So Serbia now has basically spies in Bosnia that are trying to take out Muslims. It's a mess. So the majority of Serbians don't want independence because they want to be a part of Serbia. Muslims want independence so that they can fucking set a border and tell Serbians fuck off. And Croatia's just like, we'll help you, I guess.
Yeah, we're here.
So the leader of Serbia, Radovan Karadzic.
Perfect. That's exactly how it's pronounced.
Karadzic. There we go. It's Karadzic.
Karadzic?
Yeah, Karadzic.
Crab's itch.
Yeah, Crab's itch. Fuck this guy. He is known as the Beast of Bosnia.
Ah, yes. So, you asked if I was going to do anything on Yugoslavia or the Serbian War or the Balkan War. I was going to do something on the Beast.
Yeah, I
of
found.
Bosnia.
So he has a really, really weird story, and I'm going to do an episode about it later because the dude is just. It took them.
Booked.
Yeah, he's a piece of shit, and it also took them forever to fucking find him. But he comes out in like 1992, and he says, Croatians and any Bosnians that don't side with Serbia, if you try to gain independence, we will fucking kill all of you. And
That's
people,
the best way to build a community and a government full of trust.
Yeah, is to just threaten the fuck out of anybody that's not like you. So he comes out and threatens the two countries that are like, yo, we just want to do our own thing. And he's like, fuck you. So a lot of these Serbians that are living in either Croatia or in Bosnia secede. Like,
Fair enough.
Groups of people are just like, hey, nope, we're not a part of this country anymore. And it just throws everything up in the air. At this point, local police are starting to join with the Serbs. They're taking part in Croatian insurrections, and they actually took part in what was known as the Log Revolution. And this is where Serbians were putting up roadblocks in the streets to stop Croatian elections. So Serbians living in Croatia, Croatians, literally, were going to forests nearby, cutting down trees and just fucking tipping them into the middle of the street. And people are like, I can't get out to vote. Like, I can't vote a Croatian in. Like, I can't vote someone that's non-Serbian in. And the Serbians are like, good.
Yeah, figure it out.
Yeah. And I mean, they're
Actually,
like,
don't.
They're knocking down these trees in the middle of the road and fucking barricading and just setting up behind them with like guns. So if people even try to approach, they're fucking shooting at them, getting people to fuck off. People aren't able to go out and get the representatives that they want in office. It's fucked.
Super
and it's
fucked.
Terrifying because it's so close. Like, the U.S. is just so fucking close to all of this, man.
Yeah, it's pretty damn
We're
close.
we're fucking years away.
If that.
It is not good. So, around the same time that these blockades are going on, Serbians are deploying paratroopers at like local Croatian airports, which is cutting off supplies, any kind of supply, and it's inhibiting weapon distribution for Croatians. Like, it's cutting off any kind of supply line. It's bad fucking news. Croatia, like, because you're not going to send supplies somewhere if it's like, oh yeah, that airport is covered with Serbian troops.
Yeah. It's currently occupied.
But I like to imagine that while some of the Serbian paratroopers were coming in, they would just get hit by a plane that was landing.
Yeah, they landed in the jet.
just one or two of them.
Yeah, it had to happen.
There were public rallies that are being held in the really heavy Serbian populated areas, and it's just resisting the new government. They're like, fuck Croatia, shouldn't be independent, should be Serbia. And it's getting so bad that Serbian politicians are starting to reject the Croatian Constitution amendments, which some of it I'm like, I don't really blame them, but at the same time, it's like just fucking destroying Croatia at its core.
Oh, yeah.
And Croatia isn't even really totally a country yet. They're just trying to get their feet wet.
In its infancy.
Yeah. So some of the amendments, though, and this is where I'm like, I don't really blame them because it's fucked. One of the amendments was actually to remove Serbian Cyrillic, which is their like language and text, Serbian language and text, from any government correspondence. Like, I get it. But I also really
that's
fucking
still,
don't.
like, culturally racist.
Yeah, you're closing off that culture, and you're taking it, and you're doing it to the Serbians what the Serbians are doing to the Muslims and Croatians. And it's just like, it doesn't make it right at all.
Yeah.
I get that you want to be independent. This isn't the right way to do it.
Yeah, it's like,
because you're
fighting fire with fire.
Yeah, you're cutting off.
The same thing.
You're basically just reinforcing what all of the Serbians in your country believe.
Yeah,
you're just saying, oh, you guys are worried that we're going to push you out? Well, you can't fucking speak your language here.
Yeah, here's another modern day parallel. It's like the church of Utah. Like, already most people who are in the LGBTQT plus community are not members of the church.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're outliers.
Yeah.
And then they come out and say, oh, if your parents are gay, you can't be baptized or whatever, and you're going to go to hell. causing a huge uproar and alienating the few people who were able to delude themselves into still, being part of that church.
Yeah. I mean, it's exactly what you're saying. There are Serbians that might have been in Croatia that were like, you know what? We don't want to be Serbian. We want Croatia to be its own country.
Yeah, like, we'll support this.
Yeah,
and then they come
this
out and
amendment
ostracize
comes out,
them.
and it says, hey, fuck all Serbians. And these Serbians who initially were very independent and cool with it are like, you know what? Maybe Serbia's right. And this is kind of where I'm like, up to this point, I'm like, Serbia, they want it to grow. I get it, I guess. Like, it's fucking war, whatever. You guys wanted your independence. You already had your land, though. You didn't need to come in and attack.
And get more land.
But Croatia's being a piece of shit and saying that you guys fucking suck, and they're trying to ostracize the Serbian people that currently live there, and it's just like, what the fuck?
Mess.
Yeah. It is a
not
complete,
handled well by either
It is a
side.
complete fucking mess. So, Serbia and Croatia are just shitting out propaganda at this point.
Of course.
Serbia publishes that Croatia is trying to replace Cyrillic with Latin, which it actually counteracts and destroys Syria's national symbol. I don't know how. Probably get into that in a future episode. But that's even just to say it, you say, oh, you know what? Fucking Mexico is trying to take away English from America. This would be like some stupid QAnon conspiracy shit. I am not being serious when I say this, QAnon. This is not actually happening. This is simply an example. So it would be Mexico says, hey, we're taking English. You guys can't speak it in the United States anymore. And so people would shit themselves, and propaganda comes out and says, hey, we can no longer have things that say "In God We Trust" because that's English. And it's just like, that the people who would be upset about this would be upset
even though that was added in the 60s.
Yeah,
but
it's so fucking stupid. But these people that are rooted in their ways in Serbia are like, oh my God, we're they're rooting out everything that our entire culture.
Yeah,
and
they're not leaving any space for any type of moderation. They're just creating two very distant extremes.
Yeah, and so Serbia is just Croatia wants the devil to run the country. It's getting worse and worse.
Basically, the propaganda is creating QAnon on both sides.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's starting to further cause more and more and more dissent, which it pops in 1992, 1993. Croatia starts putting their army together with the Muslims because they've been threatened by Karadzic and Kravzic, and the Bosnian Serbs team up with Bosnia, and they move into Bosnia.
Okay.
And they move into Croatia, and 1 million Croatians are pulled out of their homes, either because their home was shell-bombed. Mass shell bombings are happening at this point. But if your home wasn't bombed and you're Croatian, then you're being pulled out and you're being put into concentration camps. In 1990.
Oh, yeah.
It's what the fuck? You guys were created because of the end of World War II, and they go, you know what? Let's do the same shit.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I was going to say, the whole Serbia wanting Croatian land is exactly like Hitler saying, I want Poland. Mm-hmm. The parallels between that, that's one generation apart, if that.
Yeah, dude.
That the fact that they can be so blind to the history or just not care about about learning from the history, they probably went, oh, well, that worked pretty well
just
for them.
Just letting it fucking happen all over again.
Yeah, crazy.
They go, well, we're not the Nazis because they are. There was actually one propaganda that came out with Serbia that they were the Croatian flag is actually very indicative and similar to the Nazi symbol, which the Croatian flag was proposed to be like a white and red checkered format, which I think that's what it is now. And for some reason, they were just like, it looks like a swastika. And so Serbians were just locking in on that fucking propaganda. You're going to pull it up and you're like, it's a swastika, Jake.
Yeah,
so,
I'm gonna look it up.
Right.
That's a swastika.
Oh, fuck.
No, not at all. It's basically red, white, blue stripes, which they stole from us, America.
Wow.
And then like a shield
God, it's the 90s. Why didn't they
that's
use...
red and white checkered.
Why didn't they use, like, red and green and purple and, like, just make it pop? And tie-dye. They should have done tie-dye. It was
They
the 90s.
should have.
Yeah.
But yeah, that looks nothing indicative
Yeah.
of Nazis. Like that's crazy. I love propaganda.
I know, it's so stupid.
I absolutely love it.
So, this is the beginning of the mass genocide of Croatians and Muslims. It's getting to the point, obviously, like, I can't compare it to the last episode. But it's hitting points where, like, I mean, this isn't covering all of Europe. This is like it's like 3 countries.
Yeah.
And no one's getting involved because they're like, we don't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole. Yeah. So at one point, there were actually 260 men and young boys that were taken out into the forest by a man by the name of Goran Hadžić. And
Orrin Hatch.
Yeah, Orrin Hatch. You heard it here. Orrin Hatch led 260 men into the woods.
Fucked them all.
They shot all of them, left them in a ravine, and similar to what we talked about last week, they didn't bury them. A lot of these, they just
didn't give
fucking
a
leave
shit.
them out, whatever. And this was occurring like every couple of weeks. I mean, it's like I said, they're pulling them out, putting them in concentration camps. They're going in, and they were doing ethnic raping in the street.
Jesus.
Literally just knocking doors, and if someone answered the door that wasn't Serbian, they would pull you into the street, sexually assault you, and then fucking kill you and leave your body in the street. This is the 90s. This is like 30 years ago. Bunch of the people that are listening were alive while this was happening. And this continues to happen. Like, it's fucking mind-blowing.
There's another huge parallel to the last episode was the Einsatzgruppe. I'd love to do a full episode on the Einsatzgruppe because it's really interesting and really complex. But, I mean, the outline that I gave is good enough. But the thing that isn't reported a lot, especially when it comes to Nazis, is that it was a big thing that the Nazis never raped the Jews because they were below them. They were subhuman. Like, that's disgusting. No, they did. There are plenty of first-hand accounts.
There's no way that they didn't.
They, like that group that I was talking about, Jihad and Unum, they have people who said, yeah, my sister was raped and murdered in front of me by a Nazi, and we're Jewish. Yeah, this was happening. But it was never reported.
Yeah.
It was hidden from the lowest level. Like, that whole episode was about hiding their war crimes. They hid the rapes way better because it started from the rapist instead of from the commander.
It's
Crazy,
so wild.
The similarities.
Yeah, I mean, but when you look at, like, the raping of Dan King, like, all of these things, it's... When you go into a community that's that's different, and you're doing a fucking ethnic cleansing / genocide, it is wild how eerily similar the entire process is each time. So, the UN finds out about all of this, and they go, "We're stepping in." They don't stop shit.
No,
they
of course not.
basically
We're stepping
nothing.
in.
Yeah, they step
Virtue
in.
signaling.
They make idiots of themselves. Like they put like a little mini army together to like facilitate.
Oh, a peacekeeping group.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, they put them together, and it doesn't work out. Over 100,000 people are killed that year. And the UN just makes a fucking fool of themselves trying to keep peace without putting their foot down.
Damn, who are they? The League of Nations? Jeez.
Right. And so it starts to come to a head. And in February 1994, the Serbians drop a mortar shell. I think it's a 120 millimeter mortar shell, if you know that stuff. I don't know shit about it, but they drop it directly into a crowded marketplace in Croatia, and it kills 68 people and injures over 140. 6 months later, they drop 5 more shells into a marketplace, killing 43 people and injuring 75.
Yeah, so it wasn't an accident. They know what they're doing now.
Yeah.
They're
it takes
now terrorists.
It takes
well, they were
6
before,
more months for NATO to get involved.
Are you shitting me?
I'm not kidding.
God damn.
NATO gets involved, and the UN tag along with them because they're like, oh, maybe these guys will help us
Yeah, at least
out.
NATO has an army.
Yeah, so they put together Operation Deliberate Force is what it's called.
Deliberate Risk.
My guess is that the UN named it. And
It's a pretty lame name, I gotta say.
so this was their attempt at kind of facilitating and running the skies, more or less, to prevent further bombings on UN troops and at-risk ethnicities in the area. So they put up no-fly zone mandates and everything that everyone's following for the most part. And in 1995, a few Serbian fighters fly into that area, and NATO bombs them. NATO fucking destroys them, and this is the first time in NATO's history that they have had combat. At this point, NATO has done nothing combat-wise. They've been like the UN in this ordeal, and they've just sat back. Mind you, this is all pre-2000. This is all pre-9/11.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is like everyone kind of has guards pulled back a little bit. Commanders are a little bit more hesitant when it comes to killing people. As terrible as it sounds, 9/11 kind of set a precedent when it comes to war. And that was that the only way to create peace in war is with violence.
Bomb the shit out of somebody who doesn't deserve it.
And it's fucking weird as hell to read about this because the approach up to this point has just been, hey, stop. Let's have peace talks. Let's have little get-togethers. We'll figure this out. And someone responds with violence, and they just put their hands up and say, you know what? We can't solve it with peace, then cool. So NATO steps in. They bomb a couple Serbian fighter jets, and Serbia goes, oh, fuck. And NATO...
They're serious.
NATO got their hands a little bit wet, so they go in and they bomb Syria. Or Serbia. Not Syria.
Oh, I was like,
not
what the
Syria.
fuck?
They go in and they fucking bomb Japan again.
Yeah.
No.
They drop a fucking nuke on Nagasaki again.
Just to set a precedent. So they go in and they bomb Serbia. And up to this point, Serbia has been entirely on the offensive. They get bombed and it hits home and they're like, oh, fuck. Like, what the fuck have we been doing? So Serbia basically just sits on their hands. They go,
oh,
you know
isn't
what?
it the consequences of my own actions?
Yeah. They go, okay, well, I guess we were wrong all along because somebody bigger came in and took care, put them in their place, and they were like, ah, fuck. It's terrible, and I genuinely hate that it happened. But because the UN was doing such a piss-poor job at setting a peaceful precedent, Serbia just kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And so NATO was like, well, the only way to solve this is to bomb them. It's like, fucking hell,
Jesus.
I hate it. I hate
Trash.
reading this shit. Because I don't know the better way. I'm not a diplomat. I don't know shit. But there's always a better way than fucking bombing innocent people.
Exactly.
So, luckily, Serbia says, you know what? Croatia, Muslims in Bosnia, whatever, you guys do your thing. And they sit back. None of the countries come back together.
No,
Like
of
I
course
said,
not.
it splits up into 6 different countries. And they kind of just like do their own fucking thing after this in 1995. Now, a UN tribunal comes together and they're like, you know what? It's time we track down some fucking war criminals because, like, the people that did this, or the Serbians that were doing these war crimes, they're not like, it's not like these dudes are just Adolf Hitler and his best buddies. Like, it's not Adolf and crew that's running the shit. These are like regular people. This is like your next door neighbor.
They weren't sending
5 years ago
newsreels to other countries to show how big their dicks were, like the Nazis were. Like, it wasn't that propagandized.
And it's weird watching some. Like, I saw a few clips where like Serbians are literally putting fucking Croatians and Muslims onto trucks and just driving off, and you're like, holy shit, that's the last time these people were seen, and it's on film.
Crazy.
And it's it's fucking like color. It was in the 90s. It's not like it's like, oh yeah, like it's a lot harder to disassociate from it when you're like, holy shit, this was going on when I was alive, dude. So like I said, UN gets everything set up to track down war criminals, and NATO kind of takes over the whole operation. They're like, we'll take care of it. We'll handle it. And the UN goes, okay, because if we handle it, we're just going to cause more problems, which is fucking true.
Yeah.
And at the same time, like I said with pre-9/11, if the UN gets more involved, at this point, they're not really like the UN that you know today. And that's where it's really hard to kind of understand it, because the UN back then, like I said, they're all just peaceful. Now it's like the UN will get together and with the US and go shit on some country.
Well, yeah, nowadays it's like the UN kind of they have an in with NATO.
Yeah.
They have an in with the European Union.
And it was because of this.
They can say,
NATO...
oh yeah, the UN doesn't have, a standing army, but we can also, embargo the fuck out of you with all of these other countries.
Yeah.
Like, they now have some type of power to do
And they
something.
were a lot more hesitant to do it back then. So the UN is like, you know what, NATO, if you guys want to go crazy, go for it. You're now responsible for the bombing of Serbia, so, I mean, you guys have picked a side. So, NATO recruits special forces and diplomats from 6 different countries, not the 6 countries that we previously talked about, 6 just random fucking countries. They get people from intel agencies, and the very first arrest that was made on one of the Balkan War criminals was by a group of people that it was American diplomat general, an American prosecutor, a British police officer, a Czech homicide detective, and a Polish special forces unit.
And
made
these
the
guys
arrest.
they made the arrest. I thought
No. These weren't the war criminals.
They were the war criminals. Like, what?
No. These are the guys that
bad.
made the very first arrest. Now, NATO had not given permission to anyone to perform arrests. It was basically pick them up and we'll investigate them and then we'll arrest them if we figure out anything. And so the way that they were doing this now, like you see it in movies all the time, is they would watch them at work. They would see the guy hop into his car. They would follow him to a red light. At the red light, 3 or 4 fucking cars would pull out in front of him, and he's like, oh, God. They'd jump out and rip him out of his car. At the time, this was fucking unheard of. It was like, yeah, it was just it was such a new concept for people to see, because it was just like such a strange special forces approach. And everyone that's popping out is from like all over the globe. And so they're just ripping like these people out of their cars. And it's not like these are people that are leaving congressional hearings or anything. These are dudes that are finishing shifts at like the local factory that you and your wife had dinner with 2 nights ago. These are just regular fucking guys. And they're war criminals.
Yeah.
And it's like what the fuck?
Crazy.
So it's discovered that a lot of the guys that came into power in Serbia and Bosnia and Croatia that were Serbian, they weren't really rich or elite, like I said. It's not like these guys were big politicians. They were just angry sons of bitches that knew how to use a weapon and were loud enough that people would follow them. And most of them were middle, lower class, but because they had all this fucking hate in their heart, they were able to just speak to enough people that were Serbian that also had just the tiniest amount of hate. And it would just turn that into a fucking bonfire in these dudes' hearts. And they would have these little, like, they called them statelets, which are just like little mini militias of like 20 people.
Well, that sounds really familiar.
Yeah, right? And then they would just start fucking murdering people in
Yeah, they
their
basically
neighborhood.
had free reign.
Yeah.
Hey, go do what we want you to do.
Because
whatever you want.
Croatia shows up, Croatian troops show up, they're backed by the Serbian military. So it was just like, it took NATO like 13 years to find the majority of these guys that did war crimes. And it came out to be like 160 people.
Damn.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my breakdown of the Balkan War.
Well, I when I was looking up the flag, I saw a blurb and I followed it, and it kind of makes sense how it was handled. Put people in trucks, send them to a concentration camp. It makes sense because during World War II, they were occupied by the Axis powers. They were occupied by Germany. They had concentration camps.
Yep.
Everybody involved in this war would have seen or would have been a part of that occupation where they saw how effective it was to round up everybody, put them on trucks, and send them to concentration camps. Like, they were able to see the efficacy of it.
It was basically just a B-movie version of a fucking World War II.
Yeah, and like
it's bad.
They were also able to see at the end of the war, a lot of the people who were related to the Axis powers were fleeing Yugoslavia. They get to Austria, which was Allied occupied at this time, and the Allies say, I don't accept your surrender. Figure it out. You can't come in. So they have to go back, and then, 80,000 people end up dying from death marches. And yeah, they were Nazis or fascist Italians. Like, they were the losing side. They were the bad guys. So it's going to be, not popular for me to say this, but, maybe they shouldn't have been death marched and sent to concentration camps. Like, yeah, it's a rough situation because, they lost. They're the bad guys. We're the good guys. But, I mean, an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like there's a good chance most of these people weren't part of the Holocaust. They were just in... I mean, how much fighting happened in Yugoslavia during World War II? Like, as far as I know, not that much.
I have no
until
idea.
The end. Like,
I can't imagine very much because Germany occupied, and I'm sure that Yugoslavia just kind of was like, okay, like...
Yeah, they were
Yugoslavia
pretty much aligned.
at the time. Like,
at the time,
it was like 3 different countries. It was broken down. I didn't.
Yeah, but it was occupied the whole time.
The entire area of Yugoslavia was occupied.
Yeah.
And so when Germany left, they were like, fuck, whatever, we'll just all be one.
Yeah, and then all the people came back and then were death marched.
Oh my God.
Dude. So it makes more sense that those are the tactics that they chose.
Yeah.
Because those are the tactics that they saw.
They just copied and pasted what their dads did.
Yeah, 100%.
That's
terrible. Really what it is. Like, they're like, oh, Dad, I need help. I'm part of this thing, and we're fucking those guys over.
You know how I would have handled this.
The best thing that happened to the United States is we weren't occupied by the Nazis.
Jesus.
Unfortunately, we still had concentration camps, but
But we don't talk about that.
We don't talk about those or the
US.
the internment camps.
Internment. They were just working.
Yeah, in the POW camps where every farmer got free slaves.
God damn, dude.
Ugh.
Fuck that.
But yeah, crazy.
So
lots of parallels. I see it.
The Balkan War. It's your new obsession.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, there are quite a few genocides in that area at that time period.
Just so everyone's aware, like I said, my next few episodes will be about things that happened during the Balkan War. I'll go more in detail with like each little thing, but it won't be like I'll clarify or fix anything that needs to be amended on this episode. So bear with me.
And
but
that's the only
now
time.
you know. Now you fucking know about the Yugoslavian War.
Yeah.
Because before
How
it was
Croatia
this
gained independence.
fucking enormous Wikipedia page that you would just hit back and search something else to
Yeah.
avoid reading it. Now you know it, and you're better off for knowing it.
Yeah. That, you know what? You're better off every time you listen to one of our episodes.
Yeah,
every time, like, even if you've already heard it, you're better off listening to it again and again and again.
Telling all of your friends about it.
Oh, okay. So we're wrapping up. So this is where I do my spiel. I found out this thing about Overcast, which I don't know. I think half of our listeners come from Overcast.
Yeah.
They have a thing in that app where you can like hit a little star next to your favorite episode or something, and if enough people hit those stars, they suggest those ones show up higher in search results. So if you're feeling like you really like this episode, or anytime you're listening, you're like, oh, that's a good episode.
Favorite episode.
You should
just go back and hit star.
You should just go hit the little star. I have no idea where it is because I don't listen to podcasts.
Yeah, me neither.
Not anymore. I used to, but if take a second out of your day if you want to support us and click the little star.
Greatly appreciate it.
It'd be really cool if we like started trending on there or something.
That's crazy. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I just found out the other day.
Huh. Sick.
Because I was looking at ads again.
Yeah, just go through and star all of our episodes.
Every
is what
single
we're trying
episode.
To get at.
Yeah.
If you listen on Overcast, star all of our stuff.
If you listen on anything else, I'm sure they have a similar situation.
And if you listen on Overcast, get another phone. Download Overcast.
Yeah.
And create a new account. Star us.
Have headphones, but one in each ear, and then synchronize them together.
God.
Cold call your neighbors. Suggest this to them. So, thanks to everybody. Let's see. I'm going to move my microphone.
One thing we forgot to do last week. Huge thank you to Thomas for helping us out and getting these microphones. We thanked Patreon subscribers, but thank you, Thomas, specifically. You're like our fucking number one investor.
You're the Mac Daddy.
God, yeah, dude.
You're our pimp.
Come back out here. We'll.
I'll have an ID this time.
I live next to the studio now, so you can visit both of us.
Yeah, and we'll get turned.
But yeah, thank you
Be
so
less
much,
COVID-y.
dude. Go ahead.
Okay. So the patreon.com/points of pressure. You get a bonus episode every month. Depending on the tier, you get like stickers and shirts and mugs and shit.
We've already got one up, and it is a fun little heist
It's a great episode.
Yeah, check it out.
What else do you get? Just little side projects as they show up.
A deep look at the studio.
Yeah.
Before I lived in it.
Yeah, before
which is very
he
different.
fucking ruined it.
Shut up.
There's a box of outlets on here.
Yeah, which was in my fucking living area for like 2.5, 3 months.
Well, we needed them because we were wiring your living area, so
don't need them anymore.
I don't know, and you get all sorts of fun stuff, and just that good feeling inside of supporting two fat boys.
Yeah, feeding us.
If you have a feeder gainer kink,
by all means, subscribe
please.
on Patreon.
And if you send a message that says specifically you have to use my monthly donation on this type of food, we will do it.
Yeah, I'll eat it on air.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it'll be worse than when I roll joints.
It will be. All right, so thank you to the board. Of course, we have Nordic Thunder, Toddle Waddle, and Mini D.
Thank you.
They call all the shots, so if you don't like this episode, it's because of them.
Yeah, blame those guys. Any new changes?
Any new changes, if you don't like it, it's them. If you do like it, it's from us.
Yeah, if you do like it, then we'll rearrange how many votes their votes count for.
Yeah, exactly. Abby, AJ's Third Nut, Haley, Lindo, Casey McFacey, Dark Runner, D's Nuts, and Lara Revo. Thank you guys so much for, literally allowing us to still talk about horrible genocides for almost 3 years or whatever.
Coming up on 3 years. Started in 2019.
Crazy.
September 9th, 2019. If only we had started 2 days later.
Shit. We'll celebrate it on the 11th.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. And as always, If you have any show suggestions, episode ideas, books, movies, music, whatever you want to suggest, or if you just need somebody to talk to, by all means, reach out on Twitter and Instagram at PointsOPressure, and we will catch you guys next week.